A new book explores the history of slavery in southwest Wisconsin through the lives of 5 Black women who secured their freedom in Prairie du Chien in the 1800s. Alexandria Mack brings us this compelling story of Wisconsin history, family, and most importantly, freedom.
If people want to get out, take pictures, you're more than welcome.
Well, it's just wonderful to be here. It's like going back in time. Sam's getting, um, but it's just good to see and be here, um, where my third great grandmother once lived and my great great grandfather. I've always been interested in our history, and I was raised by my great grandmother. So I was always hanging around listening to these stories. I became interested. And so as people started passing away, I wanted to find out, where did we come from? And that's when I started digging and came across the story of my great-great-grandfather, second great-grandfather, Henry Harrison Triplett, and his mother, Patsy.
One of Patsy's descendants came to Prairie du Chien, researching her family history. I'm Mary Elise Antoine, and I am the author of the book, Enslaved, Indentured, Free. This book probably destroys a few myths about Wisconsin's place in the history of slavery in the United States. My book is about 5 Black women. First of all, Mary Ann, Patsy and Mariah, Courtney and Rachel, all of whom came together at Prairie du Chien. 1 woman was free, 2 were indentured, and 2 were enslaved. And as a child, you're taught that Wisconsin was one of the free states, that slavery did not exist in Wisconsin. Well, it did. And it existed in the fact that some individuals held Black people enslaved, and the fact that U.S. government employees held Black people enslaved in Prairie du Chien. Prairie du Chien is at the confluence of the Wisconsin and Mississippi rivers, and north of Prairie du Chien, many rivers drain into the Mississippi. And so the United States government, as early as 1810, realized the importance of Prairie du Chien and the fact that a fort had to be here, because whoever controlled Prairie du Chien controlled the upper Mississippi Valley. In the 1820s, 30s, when this story takes place, only about 350 people lived here. And the majority of the people were of French-Canadian ancestry and somehow found employment in the fur trade. So while part of the history has to do with the fur trade, all of it has to do with the importance of Prairie du Chien economically and militarily. And that's what brought all 5 women to the community. And the woman who was free was Mary Ann, and I really feel that she had influence on the other 4 women. Mariah signed an indenture, but she was able to acquire the money and purchase her freedom. Patsy, again, is born into slavery. She comes into the family of Joseph Street through Street's marriage to Eliza Posey. And again, they live in Illinois. So she's required to sign an indenture to work for Joseph Street for 50 years. And that indenture is enforced until both Joseph Street and his wife, Eliza, die. Both Courtney and Rachel are enslaved. Courtney was born into slavery. Rachel was purchased by a U.S. officer, Lieutenant Stockton, in St. Louis, and brought up to Prairie du Chien. And both of their enslavers no longer wanted their service, and so sold them. And they sold them to individuals living in St. Louis. But Missouri had the ability that if you could prove that you should be free, you could file a suit for freedom. And that's what Rachel did soon after she arrived in St. Louis. And a couple years later, when Courtney arrived in St. Louis, she also filed a suit for freedom. Everybody that I talk to about them is amazed at the strength that they had, the fortitude they had to survive, but also to fight their status.
My name is Toby Melora Coriel.
My name is Debbie Furman.
My name is April Godfrey.
I am the great-great-great-granddaughter of Courtney.
I am the great-great-great-granddaughter to Courtney.
I am the great-great-great-granddaughter of Courtney. For me, standing there on that piece of ground where Courtney lived and tended her family, it's been a long, 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 long road. It's been a long, 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 long road. It's not something I ever imagined would happen. I never imagined that I would be standing on that ground.
Come here, cousin, with a friend of mine.
And this is the first time that these branches of Courtney's descendants are together. Courtney's descendants, through various situations, got separated from one another, starting probably around the 1900 or so. And so we have not been together until now. It's such a gift. I'm so grateful. I've had conversations with Mary Elise where I thank her. It's a service to my family. She did a service to my family, my lineage, by gathering this history and gathering this information and putting it together so that Courtney's descendants going down the line can open this book and read about her and read about our people.
Meeting my cousins was a joy. They were from one of Courtney's sons who had married a white woman, and I was from the other son, Joseph, who married a Native American woman.
Here I thought I was this kid that grew up I was born in Milwaukee. My parents moved to Fond du Lac, and I grew up in a little like white bread town. I find this exciting. I find this just, if it can happen to me, I feel that people should just check into their history because it's broader and bigger than most people think. I mean, there's 3 of us here, all cousins, all in the same generation, and we're all related because Courtney is our great-great-great-grandmother.
Going actually on the land, tears kind of came to my eyes a little bit. It's still hurtful, the conditions of which she was here, because she was indentured for 50-some years, even though she she actually was enslaved until she was almost 50 years old. But the conditions are still hardening for me. Yeah, this sense of like, I'm here, you know. I got here to this place where you were here, and now I'm here too. And there's just something so tender and sweet for me about that, almost sort of like a homecoming.
They are just ordinary women. Were they any different from so many other people who lived back then who were indentured or enslaved? Yet they had the fortitude to somehow gain their freedom